If you are a brand new player in Warpath, then this video is for you because we're going to be talking about which unit type you should prioritize in the early game. There's a lot to learn in Warpath when you first start playing, so we are going to help simplify that learning curve for you right here in this video. Let's get started. Welcome back, guys. I hope everybody is doing well. This video, like I said, we're going to be talking about which unit type you need to prioritize in the early game that is going to yield you the most return on your investment and set you up for success in the later stages of the game. Now, of course, before we get started, I would like to clarify that this is my personal opinion and there is not just one single right answer, although what we're going to be talking about in this video, I think the majority of veteran players would probably agree with me. But for full transparency, whatever unit type you decide to commit to first, you can absolutely have success with it. There's not necessarily a bad choice, but there is a better than others choice. So let's not waste any time. Let's go ahead and jump in and start taking a look at the overview of each of the different unit types in Warpath. All right, so when it comes to units, you are going to have classic units when you first start the game. You can see that right here. And then after a certain point in time in the game, you are going to unlock and have access to modern units. We're going to be taking a look at both of these just so I can give you a quick overview. And then we are going to get into which one you should fully commit to and why. So when it comes to units classic and modern, there are going to be three camps that you are going to be able to create units from. You have got the Martyr's Watch camp, the Liberty camp, and the Vanguard camp. Now, when it comes to the unit types, they all have some foundational unit types, but then they each have their own unique unit or units. But those unique units still fall under the same umbrella as the kind of just standard units. So here's what I mean. Each of these three camps is going to have an infantry unit, a medium tank, a heavy tank, a tank hunter, and some form of howitzer. Now, the Martyrs camp here specifically has its unique unit is the rocket launcher. Now, before I get ahead of myself, of course, each of these camps is going to have a fighter plane, a bomber, and then two different naval units as well. Now, for the Liberty camp, the unique unit here is going to be the light tank, which that is still going to fall under the umbrella of tanks, of course. And then for the Vanguard camp, this camp is the one that has two unique units, one being the super heavy tank, and this, of course, is still going to fall under the umbrella of tank units. And then you're going to have the anti-tank gun, which is going to fall under the umbrella of artillery. All right, so now that we have a baseline understanding of the three camps and the units they are going to provide, I want to make a point to discuss some of the changes you're going to see when you do unlock and gain access to modern units. So as you saw in each of these three camps, they are all going to have a medium tank, a heavy tank, and a tank hunter. Now that is going to look a bit different when you unlock modern units. So let's jump over into the modern units and I will show you and explain to you exactly what I mean. All right, so we are now in the modern units here and you can see some things have changed. So now we've got a main battle tank and a helicopter instead of a medium tank, heavy tank, and tank hunter. And that is going to be the same for all three of these camps. So now here is what happened to those units. So both the medium tank and the heavy tank, it does not matter which unit you have. You can have either a medium or a heavy or both, but when you unlock modern units, they are going to then turn into or transform into the main battle tank. Now, something that a lot of players tend to get confused about, which is a legitimate confusion. It does not matter which one you have because the stats when it turns into a main battle tank are going to be pretty universal. It's not going to be, like, for example, if you have a heavy tank that you transform into a main battle tank, it's not going to necessarily have better stats than if you had a medium tank that you transformed into a main battle tank. So, again, just to kind of clarify here, it doesn't matter which one you have. They are both going to become a main battle tank. And then the tank hunter from each of the 3 camps is going to turn in to a helicopter. So now let's talk about which unit type to prioritize, because you're probably thinking, well, I could just build all of these. And that is true, and that is going to happen over time. So just be mindful that whatever unit type you commit to early in the game, you are going to, as you continue to grow and spend time in the game, you're going to, of course, gain access to these other units. You are going to be able to upgrade them. You're going to be able to upgrade the tech that benefits them. So this isn't just a forever one thing and done. You're going to expand into these other categories, but this is just my opinion on what is going to give you the best value early game, and that's also going to make the game the most enjoyable and give you the most amount of success possible in the early game. Now, of course, this is also geared towards free-to-play, low and mid-tier spenders. If you're a huge spender, a mega whale, you're probably going to unlock and have access to everything very quickly anyway. So this video, of course, is not for you, but this is for those of you that have to be strategic about what you do in the game. Now, something a lot of new players, again, understandably so, there is a lot to learn and take in when you first start out in Warpath. You're looking at just the units and not factoring in some of the external things that do absolutely impact the direction you go. So, for example, ground force units, which we're looking at now, have their own unit materials, which you're going to use to upgrade and level up your units. Air Force is a kind of on its own thing. It's got its own unit material, so it's completely separate from ground force, so you're not going to have to split the unit materials there. And same thing for Navy. It's got its own unit material, so you're not going to have to cross that with Air Force or ground force. So why do I say we have to pick, or we should pick, one category here? Because you also have to keep in mind you're going to have to spend resources, and quite a bit of them, if I'm being honest, to upgrade your base buildings, which are also going to have a direct impact on your units. So whether it is your garrison for your ground units, whether it's your Air Force hangar for your Air Force units, or whether it is your naval base for your Navy units, you're going to have to invest in leveling that up, which is going to give your units buffs. It's going to allow you to train more of those units. So there's a lot of benefit from that. So you want to make sure whatever unit type you prioritize, you also prioritize investing in and leveling up that joint base building that's tied to these units. All right, now I'm throwing a lot at you. So let's get into the answer here. And the short or very direct answer is you're going to want to invest in tanks. And here's why. Tanks are going to give you the most amount of versatility possible. They're fairly fast. Of course, if we're talking about like a super heavy here from the Vanguard, that is a very niche role unit. You're probably not going to be rolling around in the open field with that. That's a conversation for a different video entirely. But generally speaking, yeah, tank units are going to be fairly mobile. They're going to be fairly fast, some faster than others. So if we jump to the Liberty camp, for example, of course, the light tank is going to be the fastest tank unit on the field. It's going to be faster than tank hunters, medium tanks, heavy tanks, and then, of course, obviously, when you get into modern units, main battle tanks. But they are versatile. They're going to be able to go head-to-head with other tanks, of course. They're going to be able to go head-to-head with infantry, head-to-head with artillery. So they're very versatile units. They can get you in and out of combat quickly, and they're going to get you just really overall the most bang for your buck, so to speak. Now, some of you may be asking, well, what about howitzers, for example, or artillery units? They're the same thing, but what about those? Because you can get a lot of kills with those. Those are very good on base defense too, and I absolutely agree. You can get a ton of kills with the artillery units, and yes, they definitely are valuable in base defensive garrisoned situations. They're going to be more beneficial in that role than tanks. Tanks can, of course, still get you kills while garrisoned in your base, but generally they're not going to get as many as your artillery units. The reason that I say tanks over artillery units, for example, is because artillery units are very slow-moving, generally very weak units. So yes, they can farm a lot of kills, but they cannot take a lot of damage. So tanks can kill them very quickly. Again, tanks can get you in and out of combat very quickly compared to artillery, where they're just very slow, sluggish units. So it takes you a while to get into combat. If your unit dies, you're going to have to spend the time to retrain it and then like walk it all the way back to battle, depending on, of course, where you are on the battlefield, which that in itself takes quite a while. And so there's just a lot of extra time and unnecessary time, in my opinion, spent. So while they're great units, and I definitely think there is a time to invest in them, if you are a free-to-play, low or mid-tier spender early game and looking to be as strategic as possible with your investment, with your time, and get the most amount of enjoyment factor out of the game, tanks are absolutely going to be your go-to unit. Now, of course, this is just about which unit type to invest in early based on my opinion, but I would like to throw out one more tip for those of you that have stuck around in this part of the video. When you start unlocking some more advanced tech like your advanced combat tech or your modern war combat tech, you're going to see these different sections. They're going to be geared for infantry, tank, artillery, and airplanes. And this is where you also want to make sure you invest in the tech that lines up with whatever unit type you are focusing on. So if you're going to go all in on tanks, make sure to prioritize tank tech. Don't spread your research out between infantry, tank, artillery, and airplane evenly. Go all in on whatever unit type you're prioritizing until it is finished, and then move on to whatever you want to do next. That said, this isn't going to be a long video. It's just my goal with this was to be as kind of short and concise and to get you the clearest answers I possibly could in the shortest amount of time. But if you have any other questions, feel free to drop those in the comments. Either myself or I'm sure other people in the community will chime in and give you their thoughts, opinions, and input. But if you want, a more kind of direct or a faster answer, if you're not already in my community Discord server, the link to that is going to be in the description of the video below. Feel free to click on that link. It will take you right into my community Discord server, whether you are a new player, a veteran player, doesn't matter. Absolutely everybody is welcome, especially if you're a new player. Come on in, ask questions. We've got a ton of people in there that are very, very good players that have been in and around the community for many years, and they would love to lend a helping hand. As always, thanks for taking the time to watch the video today, and we'll see you on the next one.